In 2003, a scientist named Martin Rees published a book entitled Our Final Hour. In this work, he came to a conclusion that in the near future, people will face a total dystopia. However, in 2019, on the website of the World Economic Forum appeared an article in which humankind is predicted not only to live a long, but also quite happy life. In this video, you'll find out to whom will people surrender to slavery? How is Elon Musk deceiving us? In which of the scenarios will we see very soon? Heaven on earth or a cruel dystopia? One of the main problems of our time is climate change. Every day, we hear about ozone holes, the greenhouse effect, and polluted oceans. But will it be possible to fix it all in the near future? A researcher named Ida Auken from Denmark believes that by 2030, carbon dioxide emissions will be significantly lower, and large enterprises will be able to develop a single plan to reduce emissions and dispose of waste. But what if that doesn't happen? Unfortunately, in this case, people just won't be able to go out. Christiana Figueres and Tom Rivett-Carnac, in their book The Future We Choose, write that quite soon the air will be so polluted that it won't be possible to exist without special breathing apparatuses. Moreover, experts predict a complete shift of climatic zones. By 2026, many fertile regions may become unsuitable for agriculture. People will probably try to develop new lands, but what will humanity do when even the most remote areas become entirely depleted? Even though many organizations, such as, for example, C40 Cities and Climate Alliance, are now trying to rectify the situation, the statistics remain merciless. Every year, the world is getting warmer by about 0.18 of a degree Celsius. Will we have time to stop this process? Perhaps the latest technologies will either help us or just make our lives more difficult. And Oxford University professor Mark Graham is confident that the future lies with the gig economy. Society will almost entirely abandon full-time employees and fixed working places, and instead companies will increasingly attract independent contractors. New technologies will help to achieve hyper-transparency and internet community security. But there's always the flip side of the coin. Do you remember Orwell's Big Brother? What if everything that's written in the famous dystopian novel comes true? If the latest technologies fall into the wrong hands, every smartphone, every wireless earphone, and even every electronic cigarette could turn into merciless surveillance machines. Humanity would forget about such concepts as confidentiality and freedom of speech forever. Michael Horowitz, an associate at the University of Pennsylvania, believes that even the most influential people won't be able to avoid such a fate in a few years. Even those who'll manage to get rid of the omnipresent gadgets won't be able to access the truth, as it won't exist in accessible form. Right now, Facebook receives accusations of personal information leaks multiple times a year. Miklos Zoltan, a founder of one of the largest data privacy companies, reports that during the latest scandal, Facebook leaked personal data of more than 1.5 million users. And maybe people don't even have to be enslaved, as they might voluntarily give themselves into slavery in exchange for a couple of minutes of entertainment.
How long have you been a slave? I'm not a slave. I'm a volunteer.
But if everything's so bad on Earth, wouldn't it be easier for humanity to simply change the scenery? Will space colonization help us? Takeshi Hakamada, the founder of the iSpace company, is sure that people will soon mine their first space resource, water from the moon. And even if this water isn't drinkable, it'll definitely help several agricultural lands in arid regions. Moreover, such a breakthrough would mark the beginning of a new era in cosmology. So then scientists would consider the universe not only as an object of scientific research, but also as a source of various fossils. Again, believers in dystopia have their own opinion on this matter. Yes, maybe we'll manage to get various resources from space, but will they be distributed among Earthlings evenly? Many theorists tend to think that in a few years, all the most influential and wealthy people on Earth will get together and fly into space, leaving the rest of the population to die from the ecological crisis. Of course, here it's impossible not to mention another entrepreneur who's raving about space colonization. But oddly enough, so far, all that Elon Musk has really managed to colonize was a few territories in Texas. This genius of our time decided to take some lands in one of the American states for his developments because, according to him, there was nobody around. Musk apparently considered the multi-thousand population of those lands to be a statistical error. It seems that in that case, both utopians and dystopians thought higher of humanity. But what if there's no one to fly into space? The eternal squabbles of politicians are a real expense for pessimistic experts. Just look at a recent article by Mark Linus, a popular British journalist. He suggests that soon it'll be too late to fix anything, and people will face a nuclear catastrophe. But more cheerful researchers tend to believe that even in the case of a total nightmare scenario, a certain percentage of people will still be able to survive a nuclear holocaust. The staff of the World Economic Forum even talks about the potential opportunity for governments around the world to reach an agreement and completely get rid of nuclear weapons. Such a scenario sounds more like a mockery now, but in fact, the threat of a nuclear holocaust is greatly exaggerated by the mass media. Right now, in many states of the globe, armed conflicts and even full-scale wars are unfolding. Take, for example, the situation with the Russian invasion of the territory of Ukraine. But at the same time, ordinary life continues in peaceful regions. Maybe, in fact, we should be afraid not of nuclear weapons, but biological. In 2001, a group of Australian researchers tried to develop a contraceptive for mice, but instead, they accidentally created a virus, a modified mousepox with 100% mortality. Biological weapons don't seem to be the most terrible threat, but they could cause the extermination of all humankind. After all, a deadly virus could be created by accident, and it could spread throughout the planet in just a few days. And we recently had the opportunity to be convinced by the example of the coronavirus, didn't we? Perhaps in a couple of years, we'll see a paradoxical symbiosis of utopia and its antipode, or people themselves will cease their existence to rid Earth of their destructive impact. That's exactly what supporters of the voluntary human extinction movement are now calling for. They suggest humans stop reproducing voluntarily. Would you like to join this organization? What do you think will happen to us in 2026?